we spoke about lending as one of the way for farmers to be able to reduce their cost of capital. And I had explained how we do event-based credit line lending that reduces the cost of interest for the farmers and also provides a bit of APY uh, for the lenders. So we showed it. So today I'm going to really talk about whether agriculture is boring. So let me share my screen and we will talk about exactly what is happening in this part of the world. So the topic for today is whether agriculture is it really boring from a Web3 or a blockchain or AI or a perspective or somebody that really wants to do agriculture. Yesterday we spoke about these problems here on the reality of pre-harvest credit. I will not go in deep because I've already covered this, but as a recap, obviously a smallholder farmer, they don't have collateral, so they don't get access to bank credit, and now they are forced to borrow at higher rate of interest, and then upfront interest rates, they cut the working capital. Almost, if they take $1,000 as loan, uh, the 24% is pre-deducted, which means only $760 would be available as a working capital. So we spoke about event-based credit access, where we can unlock microcredit for each tranche based on proof on chain. Uh, by giving traceable events, they will be able to open. Just again to recap this, we're talking about by giving the proof of soil preparation and seeds, they can take up 20% and towards a growth 30%. If FarmHawk detects any pest attacks and they will be able to visually verify that, that can be sent as a proof to be able to draw the 20%. And with the full growth before harvest, they will be able to bring in the 30%. So I only just give a spoke about liquidity pool here, but I'm not really going into what normally happens in terms of stablecoin liquid pool. So we will get more into that. So here, what we are suggesting, if you look at historically coins that are now in the market circulation, but only about 4 to 6% of these stablecoins are actually earning yield. More towards because a lot of people they keep in their custodial wallets or they park it in exchanges without knowing that you could actually deploy it and gain some yield. Today we have seen some other platforms that give 2 to 3% or probably 4%. What we are suggesting, and that's where we want to clear the myth that agriculture is not boring. If somebody is in the crypto space and they have stable coins lying idle in their custodial wallets or exchanges, it is probably a time that they put it in a liquidity pool that earns a minimum of 6% annual yield. And whenever they want to basically take it for liquid staking. So where FarmHawk comes in the picture is that anybody today that want to go into lending, they could actually use our MCP servers, get all the data, and then start creating their own liquidity pools. And whenever they want to release the second tranche or third tranche, they could actually verify the data from FarmHawk. That way, we are basically coming as more like a infrastructure as a layer. We can, as I already mentioned, FarmHawk is nothing but an AI agentic infrastructure layer for everything agriculture. So today we're talking about the use case of lending, where liquidity pools could actually be a good way to deploy stable coins, get up to 6%, even more. In fact, tomorrow I'll be sharing one more use case where uh, people could actually earn anywhere between 9% to 12%. The topic today, but it is very important that I set the basis right, the context right, as to why we think agriculture is not boring from a Web3 or any perspective for anybody to today currently do this. So what's happening here is that yesterday I spoke about they have to give a, they have to record reform activities on chain. That happens today also. So what's happening here is that once the smart contract that anybody wants, right, they typically get all the data. So here what's happening is they are actually committing reform activities onto the form hook. So we are available here. If somebody has built a lending protocol, they could actually cross-check whether there's data there. Again, yesterday I explained on how we do the fraud detection with satellite data. So if the farmer is giving nice looking pictures onto the platform, and whereas the satellite thinks there's no vegetation at all, the smart contract could actually reject the second tranche or raise an alert to the field officer to go and manually check the actual form. That way, we are not exposing any of this we have stable coins from the liquidity pool. That way, it's more secure, and we only lend to the people that is required, farmers, right? Now, we think that's all legit, and it's the farm hawk says okay, it's all good to go. Then what happens is you could write a smart contract that will actually transfer the, for example, in this case, 200 USDT to probably the cooperative fund. So mostly initial phase it will be mostly B2B, the cooperative being the underwriter for the farmer. So if there are 500 to 1,000 farmers in the cooperative, the cooperative can actually underwrite. That way, there's a less risk for liquidity pool holders also. So this is exactly where we wanted to put across to go deep from what exactly yesterday I spoke. On the social impact, what is happening? And obviously, we're getting 6% APY to the lenders who are the liquidity pool holders here. But what is happening here is that we are now reducing the cost of capital from 24% or 36% to about 8% to the farmers. So when you take 8%, we give 6% back to the liquidity pool holders, and 0.5% is actually used to buy the crop insurance. And then there's the governance fees and other gas fees that we need to take care. So that should take care. So this is, again, we want to make sure that anybody can build a lending protocol using a lot of clean data, verified and immutable data on the form hook. Because we are putting all the things on the data, we are able to measure, record, and verify, right? MRV, what that stands for here. So it becomes a kind of a green finance where if there are companies who have CSR activities or somebody wants to support farmers in the global south, they can also participate in this lending pool. So what is going to happen in a couple of weeks or months is that more than the retail, you will start seeing more institutional funds coming into this institutional stable coins will be deployed. Why they would also feel more comfortable to deploy is that there is no exposure of their entire money on day one to the lendee, in this case farmer. We have clearly made sure that it is now given across 4 tranches. Initial for the seeds, if they show the growth and cross-verified by the field officer on ground, or cross-verified by the satellite imagery from Farm Hawk, that only then the second tranche is given. And the third tranche is again given only if there's a pest attack. So I'm talking about this particular slide. If there is no pest attack, it's good, right? They don't need the money, and neither there's more capital exposure from the lenders to the lender, and they could go there. And we are only it's prorated interest. So over 4 weeks or 4 months or 6 months of the crop duration, the cost of capital would even go down for a farmer. So that's exactly what I want to clear the myth whether blockchain is boring. I'll come back tomorrow with another use case where anybody could guarantee 9 to 12% APY, for stablecoin holders. We'll talk about that. For today, this is what I would like to conclude on. Thank you very much for your time.